Founder and president of Giant Jaxx Media. Welcome to Giant TV. I'm really excited for my two guests today, Mike Lauesen and Eric Langley. Mike is an EOS implementer and a Vistage chair doing really great things. We're going to hear from Mike here in a second. Eric Langley is an innovation and AI expert advising businesses across the country on what they need to know and what they need to implement. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
I'm excited to hear from Eric. I don't know about me.
We're excited to hear from you, Mike. So, Mike, tell us. I mean, obviously, you and I have talked offline. I know about all the great things you're doing. What are you focused on and spending your time doing?
Well, since I had my final liquidity event with my manufacturing company, Nycote, now ICP Industrial, I decided to help entrepreneurs not necessarily do what I did. I mean, everybody's different, but to try to find vehicles to help them grow, scale, build their business, and eventually, if they want to exit or they want to hand it off to the next generation, if it happened to be, but have some kind of succession plan. And I do that two ways. One is as a Vistage chair. I was a Vistage member back actually when it was called Tech for the first many years.
Back in the day of the flood.
Yeah, the executive committee. And then, of course, they rebranded to Vistage, and it's been that way for a long time now. And my 16 years there, I can tell you honestly, it was transformational being around a bunch of business leaders, mostly owners, founders, not all, some CEOs that were brought in or partners. And within that realm of being around a bunch of smart people, I also met a lot of great speakers over time, which is part of the model of Vistage, right, bringing in subject matter experts. And one of them was a gentleman named Bruce Breyer, who Bruce had a system very similar to what I also do, which is EOS, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And it was a system to help me articulate, document my vision for the company. And we were doing fine, but once we brought Bruce in to help really develop the system of not only articulating vision, having proper goals, documentation, priorities, and helping us scale and actually having a simplified strategic plan. That was a long time ago. That was in the mid-90s. And then EOS came along from Gino Wickman, writing the book Traction, and even before that. And, it became a system that not only is a simple set of tools, but it's pretty profound in the impact it can have with entrepreneurs. So what I do in the EOS world as an implementer, I work with entrepreneurs, generally a minimum 20 employees up to 250, all sorts of revenues, all sorts of sectors, manufacturing, service, you name it, it's applicable. And you work with them in implementing a set of tools over a 2 to 3 year period. Some of the implementers I know who have been doing this longer than I have been working with clients over 5 years. And what I find is, my favorite quote from a speaker of Vistage was, "When the student's ready, the teacher will appear." Well, what you find is Vistage members, EO members, YPO members are really great students for EOS because they want to better their business. They want to grow it. They want to scale it. They want to have a system in place that they can really count on for the leadership team.
Yeah.
And that's where you're working different. Vistage is working with a founder or CEO. In EOS, you're working with the whole leadership team. So yesterday I had a session with seven folks on a leadership team, implementing what we call vision building day one. And it's a process and a system. You build a structure and a foundation, and then really you're helping them execute on the plan that you help them develop over the first 60 to 90 days.
Love it. Love it. And I know you've got your thumb on the pulse of things that are helping CEOs, which gets us to Eric Langley. Eric's a top Vistage speaker. I mentioned before, an innovation AI expert. And Eric, let's dive into what you're doing, what you're focused on for businesses all around innovation in AI.
Sure. I can tell you that Mike's focus, the two-prong focus, I love that with the Vistage, which you got the CEO and then getting the whole leadership team. Companies that go that route are like my ideal client because they're primed to grow. They're ready to grow. They, like Mike mentioned, they want to learn And, my focus is on AI. So when I go in and start talking about innovation with AI, this is all new. This is all change.
Yeah.
And the change from AI is affecting all industries. And then within the industry or in a particular business, all functional areas of that business. And basically, I try to categorize that to make sense out of it. And I call it people, products, and processes. Like
Mhm.
those are the three things that you do in a business, and AI is affecting all of those. So it's really great to have that EOS/Vistage model in place. It helps what I do make it much easier because then I have to back up and try to do the visioning and purpose and values and all that stuff. That it's great to already have it there.
Yeah, nice. Eric, I have a question for you. So, if you have a Vistage member, like I have and other chairs have, as well as EOS clients, how do they get started? Do you interview them? What is the process that I should be aware of to bring that value to both Vistage as well as EOS clients?
It's amazing how profound that question is. How do you get started?
Mhm.
Like AI is such a big thing and it's such a big elephant. You just can't go in
Right,
there and start,
right.
biting on it. So yeah, but I mean, I have a defined process that I use and it starts with discovery, figuring out where the client wants to go, which is, what's the vision? Where do you want to take the business? And then, we do a little bit of diagnosis, where are you right now? What's your existing situation? And then we can develop a gap. And once you understand what that gap is, then you can start to take a look at AI initiatives that can go into strategic places in the business and prioritize those to get to where you want to go. So really it starts with, where does the business want to go? Where are we? And then how are we going to get there?
I would wonder on something like that. Take a manufacturing company that's, kind of hit the wall a bunch of times. They're 20 million or they're 25 million, and they've hit these walls that we talk about, where you hit the ceiling, right?
Yep.
And we talk a little bit about that in EOS with 5 leadership abilities. But, breaking through that, right, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of creativity, looking maybe at different products, different markets, maybe even trying to find the right people in the right seats. Maybe you don't have them. So could you give me an example of, Vistage type clients, EOS type clients that are in that number of employees and up, the 20 to say 200, 250, that, would be, how they got started and then what the benefits are right now. Some of the specifics would be really,
Sure.
really helpful.
Yeah, and I actually have an onboarding client right now, manufacturing, that I think is a good example for this.
Okay.
And this was a direct client. I get a lot of my business through Vistage and
Mhm.
EOS, but this was a direct client. So I got this from outbound marketing, and they're not in Vistage, they don't have EOS, and I'm like, boy, we need to go back and do these things so that I can develop a model for you. But in
Yes.
the discovery process for that client, the roadblock for them was really business development. They needed more opportunities in front of them. And, if you think about marketing and business development for AI, the possibilities are just stunningly amazing of what's
Mm.
capable right now. From AI conversational chatbots that can book a meeting, to customized video presentations tailored to each individual client that are all AI driven,
Mhm.
and the scale that you can get. You talk about breaking through that $20 million barrier.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, you need systems that can scale.
Mhm.
And AI really provides that because you can't type, 200 emails a day,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
not possible. And you need those systems to be working when you're doing something else. And
Mhm.
really, if you think about the highest level of productivity that a business development person can do, it's having a conversation with somebody that is in a position to be a buyer.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to spend a lot of time on, you know, farming and researching and stuff like that. You want technology to do that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Eric, when you're going into a company, are you typically who gets on board with AI, and is it really identifying one thing to start off that they can do and then kind of growing it from there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Paul, my my target is always the CEO or the owner of the business to start with. I'm in the small and medium-sized business space, as Mike said, like 20 to 250 people in the company. And once I have that person engaged, then is the discovery process. While we're going through that, I'm looking for low-hanging fruit. Where is the area that we're going to get a big bang right in the beginning, a quick win, if you will, and then start looking at some more strategic things. And even with that quick win, I'm always thinking, how is this going to go throughout the company? Whatever solution we go to implement there, is this going to be broadly applicable? So you have to have that big picture look, but we want to get something going right away.
Yeah, it does remind me a little bit when the question comes up often when you're working with this leadership team of 3, 5, 7, 8, whatever the number is, and they're like, well, how do we roll this all out, right? How do we get this now implemented into the company? And you want to do it mindfully. You want to be able to master a lot of the tools you're working with first at the leadership level, right? Before you then are going to move into, hey, let's now bring it down to my department in operations or my department in sales or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I want to say something too, Eric. Maybe you can comment on this because this is an application, my own experience with AI, and I think it applies to a lot of different industries. But so we've got incoming data. This is with a law firm. We've got incoming data. People fill out a form that comes in, and it needs to be categorized and forwarded to certain individuals based on geography. And based on the person they may be associated with at the firm. So all that information's on the form that they fill out, but the AI needs to read the applications we use that have this attorney's in this geography and so forth. So the AI is able to not only look at the incoming forms, but then look at the existing applications we are already using. So it looks at them, matches everything, and then forwards this stuff out to the appropriate person. Where a human being or two were doing that before. So I mean, that to me, that's insane because, and that's, I mean, what other industries wouldn't have a need for something in that realm? It seems like
Filtering things out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Paul. And the research has been done. Goldman Sachs did an extensive report, in the middle of last year, but it's still applicable that about 25% of work across all industries is potentially automatable by AI.
Yeah.
And I think the benefits of that is that people are going to go from mundane or, tiresome, tedious work to work that's meaningful. And, that's really important because that's going to really improve stakeholder engagement at the team level, because now you're doing work that is like really taking advantage of the best that you are. Literally, I was talking with a business development, contact at one of my customers, and he's like, yeah, I am just drowning in this mundane stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to take that away from you. You're going to concentrate on meetings. And he was super excited. He's like that, and that everybody in that company is on board. Like their vision statement says, we're going to innovate, we're moving forward. And that's really what you need, that attitude.
It's a term that Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach, came about with, which is delegate and elevate to your unique ability, right? Which is really what you just said. Let's get us working on things that we love to do, or we like for sure, but we're good at them, or we're great at them. Right? Versus this other stuff that we got to get dragged down into these quadrants where it's like, it's just not fun. And it might not even be mundane. It's just not our unique ability and our skill set.
And Mike, does it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, doesn't automation have to become part of EOS? I mean, you're talking about efficiencies across the company going there with EOS. I got to imagine automation has to be part of that discussion now and in ramping up. Is that a fair statement?
I think so. I mean, I think it's all on the definition of automation. What do we mean by that? And then again, within the type of business and what are they really looking to do, or do they know what they want? Sometimes it's like, hey, I've heard about AI, but what do I do with this? Because it is such a it's such a buzzword right now that it encompasses some very specialized things, which is obviously what Eric's expertise is.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Mike, because I think what happens is when you have a company that has an existing strategic plan, the capabilities of AI could literally cause you to have to go back and look at that plan and adjust it to account for the rapid pace of change that can come.
Sure,
Like
sure.
if you've got a plan to double your business in 3 years, well, gosh, I mean, I mean, AI can potentially do that in 18 months. And how are you going to handle that change versus the plan you have and the methods that are going to take to get there? So it really is a fundamental decision that has to be made.
I know I'm laughing only because I don't know if this is true, but like, the Chinese curse where may all your dreams come true, right? It happens sooner than you really want, and you're like, well, we're not ready for this. But
there is
we don't have the infrastructure.
absolutely something scary about achieving your vision,
Yeah.
especially if it's a BHAG. Jim
that's right.
Collins' Big Hairy Audacious Goal.
Yep,
I mean, if
yep.
you're going to double your company, boy, you better be ready because
right.
this stuff is coming, and it's going to be coming fast.
Yeah.
And you sometimes they say you get what you prepare for, but if you're not prepared for that, wow. I mean, look out.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And
Yeah.
And Eric, maybe you want to comment on, I know you've partnered with Mike to put together a complimentary AI strategy session. I want to make sure everyone listening to this understands what that's about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Mike and I are partnering up to offer online meeting strategy session where we take a look at a business owner or CEO's business, and in the context of his situation or her situation, come up with an initial roadmap, like what's possible for AI in your business. And really a big part of like Vistage and even EOS, if you think about it, is making decisions. Like, how are you going to make decisions about AI? And that's going to open that door. And I know Mike has thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's your job if you're in the helm in that seat of running the business, whether you're the owner or not, it's your job to say, okay, what tools can I use to be able to grow this and or either meet or exceed whatever the vision is, or help articulate that more within the space that you're in. So, I mean, I think that's the part where I think within Vistage and EOS, people want to get better. That's why they're doing it. They also realize it's hard. It's hard implementing a new system. It's hard doing something different. But if you don't, maybe the other competition will or already has.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you both. This is great stuff. And for everyone listening, there is a way to get connected with Mike and Eric with that session, wherever you're watching this video, because we stream it everywhere. Thanks again for being here, and we'll stay in touch with both of you. Thanks.
Right.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Nice seeing you both. Bye-bye.